Hi, I'm Ellie McGuire, and this is the Shaking the Bushes podcast. I'm so excited because today's guest is going to give us tips on how to open the door to acting. And even if you're not an actor, you're going to want to listen. Maggie Linton, my dear friend Maggie Linton. You came all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, to sit at my little kitchen table in my childhood home in Rhode Island. I am beyond thrilled.
I am thrilled to be here because of your mom and knowing her and how much this home is part of her life too.
Everybody goes, yo, what? You're doing a podcast from your kitchen table? But what does everybody in the world do?
Hey.
They sit around their kitchen table and talk.
Exactly. And the kitchen is the heart of the home because usually there's food there. And if you're like anybody in my family, especially my husband, it's going to be there. Going to be at the table.
Wow. Well, I am just beyond thrilled. And so let's go back for those who don't know.
Back.
Yeah, way back. I was living in Alexandria, Virginia, and I decided to take acting lessons. And someone gave me the name of someone.
Kelly Hill.
And I drove my little sports car from Alexandria, Virginia at like some ungodly hour in the morning to Baltimore, Maryland.
That's right.
Walked in the room. All these people were there want to be actors. And there at the head of the class was Maggie Linton. You were my first acting teacher.
And now, that's a mouthful because my background is really broadcasting. But I have done some acting and I had known Kelly for a while. And it was fun to be able to try and help people get started. Because I think that was during the time when I was working on Homicide, Life in the Street. And I had been there as a squad room secretary for 3 seasons. So I didn't really know how to act. But, I was there having a good time.
I did Homicide on the Streets too, but I didn't make secretary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was background.
Way
back. That ran forever too, didn't it?
It ran for 7 seasons.
7 seasons.
Yeah.
It was a little bit before Dun,
Yeah, exactly. Dun.
So how the heck did you get in front of the class? You're teaching an acting class.
Well, basically, I was in broadcasting, and you know how with every career, you reach a point where you're not working as much. And I started doing a lot of voiceovers and doing other types of what we called industrial films.
Sure.
A lot of government work and things like that. Because I could read a teleprompter. Why? Because I had a broadcasting background.
Right.
And so Kelly and I... Actually, she met Bob first. Her car had broken down.
Bob being my husband of how many years?
41.
41. And he is our only audience member today.
And he was, there are 2 actually.
Oh, wait a minute. We do have the director who is my Ron, my significant other, my forever fiance. He's working the camera. So we have 2 very handsome men.
Yes, okay. Exactly. But her car had broken down in downtown Baltimore, and Bob was a mounted police officer in Baltimore City.
Okay, let's say that again.
Years.
He was a mounted police officer in Baltimore.
That's it.
And it's not like Baltimore is a very easy city.
No, but the thing is, they were the longest running mounted unit in the entire country. And they just ended it this year.
Wow.
And sold the last 3 horses. And that saddens me because it had been there since the 1800s.
Well, they're doing the same thing in New York City, where I also live, and with the carriage horses.
Oh, yeah.
They're having the battle of should we
keep the poop or not the poop? Because,
keep the horse, keep the horse. Yeah, it's a battle. We could talk about that another time. But anyway, so we're back to Kelly Hill.
And her car broke down, and Bob stayed with her, until a tow truck came and things like that.
Good old
and
Bob.
To this day, Kelly and I are still friends. She's now moved to Houston to be closer to her son and his family.
Well, wait a minute. You were my acting teacher.
Yeah, and what's the first thing I told you to do?
You said, get a new headshot.
Because you're never going to be hired with a headshot that you had. Folks, if you're even trying to get into you can get it now just taking your iPhone or your Samsung or whatever. But take a good picture. Put a little makeup on, a little powder, that kind of thing. It's easier than ever. Learn how to get in contact with any of the casting agencies, find out what they need, and getting through the front door is really the first
That's
thing.
it. If you don't get through the front door,
you
can't play. But speaking of pictures, if you are listening on like Spotify and you're listening to the podcast and not watching it on this delightful video podcast, you can check out pictures later on at EllieMcGuire.com. That's Ellie with a Y, McGuire with a C.com.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you're standing in the front, gonna teach an acting class. I'm nervous as hell because I want to be an actor. Who didn't, right? And but something about you was magical. Of course, could it have been your buttery voice?
Well, could be.
Oh my God! And then your instructions. And do you notice in the mugs, for those who are listening, there are straws in the mugs. I think that was one of your tips too. For ladies with lipstick, always put straws in the mugs.
Yeah, because you don't destroy your lipstick. Because even though, especially if you're having a makeup artist do your makeup, they're going to put a little bit more than usual on. And not always do you get a chance to blot your lips. And that's really important because you don't want it to spread.
Are you listening, ladies?
Yeah.
Of course, our makeup artist was sick today. So
we have to do
as
our
Ron
own.
likes to say, this isn't low budget. This is no budget.
But then we went on and wound up really crossing paths multiple times.
I think
because of broadcasting.
I think we did some background work. Were you in Serial Mom with John? What is it? What with John Waters? Serial Mom. Okay, so
he shot all of his movies
in Baltimore.
I was in the original Hairspray. I was Trinket number 1, Ruby. Actually had a speaking role, and so it was wonderful being a part of that history making because that was the first one that really didn't offend anyone.
He was out there, but he was brilliant.
Yes,
right,
very much so.
So, and I tell this in podcast number whatever in my first season, but quickly, I just was working at WTEM and I got a call, I think because of your acting class. I was now on the list and they said, you want to be on John Waters, Serial Mom? And I'm like, sure. And at the end of the day, I'm in the courtroom behind Kathleen Turner and they said, by the way, call back tomorrow. I went, call back tomorrow? I got a job.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I spent the whole week and I just told my boss I had women's problems. Got some orders and he didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's acting. It's like just when you think you can have, just when you think you have something else happens.
Exactly.
And you always get the dream job right when you have a job.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have the flexibility as you did, it's worth kind of stepping out and seeing what else you can do because so many people's dreams come through by taking that opportunity and that chance.
Well, if you don't take a risk.
If you don't take a risk, you got to.
So then I remember, so I moved to California and you visited me in California.
Exactly.
And everywhere I moved, you visited me.
Exactly. That's the reason why I had to come here.
Now
I'm
you're
easy,
here.
Now
you're here. But
got a bed, I'll sleep in it.
Exactly. But then you got a job at SiriusXM Radio, which is the same place where Howard Stern and all those people are, right?
Exactly. But I was there the day XM turned on.
Get Out.
No. And a lot of people do not know this, but the original date for XM to go on the air was actually September 12th, 2001.
September, the day after 9/11. That is crazy. By the way, that's my bird clock in the kitchen. We have a clock that every hour it has a different bird sound. So if you hear that, folks, that means we went way over. So 9/11. So did they still go into work?
We went quietly on the air with 150 listeners, but they went more to an official one in November of that year. But what's interesting is I have the paper from the day before. I was part of the USA Today news channel. I did sports and I did features.
Right.
And it was full of XM, the USA Today newspaper. There were going to be people flying in from all over the world to cover us because we were something that nobody else was doing. Paying for radio?
Yes.
Come on. TV? Yes. Radio?
But
no.
even TV just started being paid.
Exactly.
But yeah, and I'm in the radio business.
Exactly.
That nobody paid. We got advertisers to pay. So it was very, very different.
Yeah.
And didn't you start a book radio show?
I actually, after being there off and on doing many different things, including helping start the baseball channel, starting the sports channels.
Did you hear that, gentlemen? She started the baseball.
Well, I don't know if
channel.
my career started actually as a sports anchor.
And where did you go to school?
University of Kansas Jayhawks. We're the only college team with the Jayhawks. There are many cats and wildcats and doing that, tigers and all that kind of stuff. Only Jayhawks.
We were meant to be because
ranks.
I worked for the NBA and the NHL. I worked for the Bullets, now the Wizards.
Yeah.
And I worked for
I
the
always used to call them
Capitals.
the Boulets.
The Boulets. Well, they started in Baltimore.
Exactly.
And then they left you.
Exactly.
And then we got them in D.C.
Exactly.
And I worked for them. And then I worked with the Redskins at WTEM. So I was maxed out of sports. But one of my most funniest stories, and I don't know the end story of this, was my boss comes up to me, and I will be admitting this. He was not my favorite boss. But anyway, he came up to me and he said, Ellie, do you know anyone? We need someone for overnight and we're all sports, right? And I'm thinking, well, I want to promote a female friend. And what female friend is a sports fanatic?
Yeah.
Maggie Linton. So I called you up and I said, quick, they need you for tonight. And then I am your friend. And what did I do? I finished my day and left. I cannot believe to this day that I didn't hang around and go, okay, how can I help? But you came in cold. And what happened?
Well, basically what happened is I went to an interview and process, and they wanted to see if I could actually, you know how when they're running the little
Switchboards
previews and stuff like
previews.
that, and they want you to talk along with it. Well, they gave me a script, but then they put up a completely different video. And it's like I'm sitting there going,
So you're trying to do play-by-play on a video.
that doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
So obviously
So they screwed up.
They screwed up. Yeah.
I am so glad I
But
left that station.
Thank
Thank you. But
You weren't
wanna
there
know-
anymore. So.
But I was such a supporter of you. And I think women, this is one of my things, I've had this memoir that I'm still waiting to be published, but that's another story. And the thing is, women never seem to support women in my mother's age.
That has changed dramatically, especially in the world of sports, because when I first started, I was the first woman to do sports in Wichita and St. Louis, the second woman to do sports in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. And so, it changed. I can remember going to a locker room. Remember when the first hockey team was not the Capitals as they are now. I can't remember what they were.
I knew the Capitals.
We went, I went to the locker room. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was
Was
a
it
soccer
Landover
team.
at the
It was
Cap
a
Center?
soccer team. No, it was a soccer team. And I was standing
What was
outside.
soccer?
Yeah, exactly. What was soccer then? And I remember standing outside and they were saying, "Are you going to come in?" And I was working at TGG. And I said, "Yes, I am." And they said, "Okay. Let me go in and tell the guys that a woman will be coming
Probably
in."
the naked guys.
Yeah, they were.
Were
Actually, and I'll tell you about that real quick. But you remember Glenn Brenner?
Sure.
Who was at Channel
He used to come in the
9.
private club at the
Exactly.
Cap Center
Exactly.
all the time.
Well, Glenn said, there are more animals out here than there are in there. Good luck. So as I walked through the door, and I had a couple of tall cameramen and a tall sound man. That's when you went with the full gear.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sitting there talking to the manager, and all of a sudden I'm being tapped by my cameraman to move a little bit. to the side.
Right.
And when I moved to the side, later on, I went back and looked at it. And there was a guy in the back of the coach, like drying himself off, and he had nothing on. And so we had to move him. We had to move me so that the coach's head would block the guy getting undressed. Welcome to the good old days of
trust
radio.
Me, I was in radio.
I was not offended.
I was the only woman in every meeting.
Exactly.
I really broke the glass ceiling for that. And I remember my boss once bringing me in, which is why I'm no longer there, which is part of my memoir. But, can you say me too? Can you say you too? Can you say everything? But, he once brought me into his office and said, you're making probably more money than any woman in this town, right now. But I was thinking of firing you, but maybe not. Maybe not today. I mean, it was just an abusive situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a great job.
Exactly.
But that's why I left.
Because it was a great job.
I'm still nervous about that.
Yeah, but it's changed, and women have been given a chance, and they've more than stepped up. I look at somebody like, Robin Roberts. She used to do sports on ESPN, and then I look at Maria Taylor now, who's with NBC, who used to be with ESPN,
right.
And she heads the football at night, and is out there and really doing a good job. And there are so many other women. I'm trying to think of the woman's name that's on Good Morning Football. Women have stepped up and show. I learned my sports from my dad. He didn't have any sons. So guess what? He took my sister and I and explained everything. We went to football games.
Wow.
We went to baseball games.
I'm so jealous.
And we did whatever he could because he had no son. But he didn't mean his daughters couldn't learn. And to this day, my sister and I absolutely love sports.
But see, that's the difference. I think when we first started getting into jobs that were totally men jobs, I think there was a bit of a competition from the women because we didn't know how to handle it.
Exactly.
We had never been, we were taking clothes and beating them against the rocks to wash them while the guys were off hunting and having a blast hunting. And now all of a sudden here we are. And so there was that little bit of an edge. And I'll tell you the biggest problem for me, I was considered an executive.
Yeah.
And my secretary, Molly, it took a while for us to get along. I mean, she was used to taking orders from men, but not women. And then one day our boss said, "You act like a bunch of hens," or something. He was really mean. And we looked at each other and said, "What the hell are we doing?"
Yeah.
And from that moment on, we united and became best buddies and worked together so brilliantly. But it took a while because women never worked together. And there was still that, the secretarial, what's that working woman? What was that movie with,
with Dolly Parton and 9 to 5, all that too. Yeah.
But so they're all uniting. But if you were here, I'm raising my hand for those listening. If you were higher up and someone was lower, there was really an awkwardness.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you broke that ice and women were so strong.
But I always went in. I don't care if you were the janitor who was there cleaning the baskets or somebody else. You drank the same water I did when you were in the building.
Right.
People say, "Oh, you're so famous." I go, "No, still got to wipe when I'm done." So guess what? I'm just like everybody else. And that's what I found a lot of people. A friend and I were talking the other day about how sometimes some of these stars are stuck up. I said, the wannabe stars are, but the others that aren't. I said, I've met too many of them. I've walked with too many of them. I've talked to too many of them to tell you that no, the wannabe people are the ones that are the problem. I said, for the most part,
I agree with you.
The other people are good people.
Except I was in
There's
another
always an
Kathleen
exception.
Turner movie. I can't think, Baby Genius. It was it really tanked. But I can remember as a day player, I was a nanny. And so as a day player, I had, was sitting in the back. We didn't have trailers. We're sitting on hard chairs. It was cold in the studio. And I remember looking out, and she had finished a scene, and her assistant came out, and she lifted her leg, and the assistant took her heel off and put fuzzy slipper on one foot. She lifted the other leg, took her heel off, fuzzy slipper, and she walked out. I mean, I was like, wait a minute, we're the ones not getting paid a lot. You're getting paid millions, and you've got your slippers, So there is that inequality in everything in life. I think in everything.
Mhm.
So heck, I just think it's amazing that we made it this far.
Oh, yeah.
And let me just, I'm breaking the ice here for those listening too. You are this beautiful African American woman. So on top of that, you're a woman, a black woman breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah, but it's funny. Guess what? I always knew I was black. I always knew I was a woman.
Oh, by the
But
way, you mean I didn't tell you that?
No.
Okay.
But my mom and dad, I grew up in a totally integrated neighborhood in Kansas.
Okay.
So I always had white neighbors, black neighbors, Asian neighbors, Catholics, Protestants,
And you are married
across the
to
street.
a very handsome, tall white man.
Yeah, and 41 years. But
41
across the street
years.
from us were the Apontes. He was from Puerto Rico and she was from Germany.
But see, I love that.
And so I always, that's the reason why I said what I said. It's like we all have the same, we're doing some kind of blood, whether it's A, B, B plus,
I don't get
whatever.
I don't get any of that.
And it's like we had to toss that kind of stuff out and learn to love each other. And I think this world would be so much of a better place. So I never let being black stand in my way, though my parents always told me just being a woman was going to be the harder thing. And I really think it is.
Yes.
Because when I started getting hired, I was a double minority. So they were glad to see me walk through the door doing whatever I could do. I could speak, I could read a prompter, and I had knowledge
she's
of a few
beautiful,
things.
folks.
Oh, well, thank you. A lot more gray, that kind of thing. But I was always, I filled that bill. And I didn't walk in with any animosity thinking somebody owed me something.
Good.
Nobody owes you anything. You go in and you do your best. And that to me is, I don't know, you ever watch HGTV?
Oh, sure.
Mike Holmes?
Yes.
Do you know who Mike Holmes is? Well, I actually had the opportunity to meet him a few years ago through book radio. And he said, he has this saying, he says, do it right the first time. And I never understood why somebody didn't want to do it right the first time. Whatever it may be, whatever your opportunity, whatever your job is, try your best to do it right the first time. Then you don't have to spend time going back and doing it again. And it's just plain common sense. But way too many people cut corners. That's what he does. He goes in and cleans up the messes that are out there.
Nice analogy,
Yeah.
Maggie.
Mhm.
Nice.
Thank you.
We just high-fived. Well,
Yeah.
I just find that I never, and back to the whole integrated thing, I was thrilled. My high school didn't have a lot of blacks, maybe Portuguese was big in Rhode Island.
Okay, yes.
But the thing is, and you wipe that away, your personality. And once again, I always say, I mean, Rhode Island is 90% beaches, and everybody goes to the beach to look like you. Except what's the problem then,
Exactly.
So I just always thought you were just a divine creature who came into my life and you taught me acting, and then we just became friends.
Exactly.
And then
that's been the most fun.
Oh my gosh. So
We got stories.
Oh, do we have stories? And you'll have to come back.
I will.
Of course,
Yeah.
Bob's sitting there going, I'm going to have to drive 7 hours again.
He did and I did.
Yeah.
But
so back to the book club.
book radio.
Book radio.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. And, now everybody's got TikTok books and and all that stuff. You were kind of the first to put books on radio.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a listening. Now it's podcast. I always call podcasts. Don't you find that amusing? Podcasts are just radio stations in people's homes.
Exactly.
And now-
or at their kitchen tables.
Or at that kitchen table. Right. Bada boom. And then the video podcast is just TV stations at home.
Exactly.
It's just crazy. It's just all individualized.
Exactly.
But you were doing book radio. I was just in awe of you. And used to send my mom, what was it then? What medium was it? Was it CDs? Was it
Yeah.
cassettes?
CDs.
CDs?
She would come, she and a couple of other people. I was their supplier.
Well, because she had macula.
She had macular.
So she could not see.
Exactly.
So these CDs were a lifeline.
Exactly.
But your voice and you on the radio, and she used to listen to you. But name, who was your most favorite and your least favorite interview on book?
I can't
for
really tell
authors?
you a least favorite.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, actually, there was one guy who wrote a book about finance, and I realized kind of midway through the interview, He had no clue about finance because, I ended my run at XM doing my own talk show for
Right.
3.5 years for 2 hours a day. So I would average about 4 guests a day. And we were in the middle of the interview.
That's a
And
lot.
he didn't know anything about finance. But my favorites, oh my God, there's so many. Lee Child, David Baldacci, Brad Meltzer, Tatiana Wildenborn.
Did they come right to the studio?
Many of them did.
Wow.
I mean, I could just call them, and they if they were going to be in town, they would show up. I have pictures to prove it.
Did you have to read every book?
I did. I learned how to read very quickly. I didn't need to get a full description of how the leaves were falling down from the tree, and I'd just go on to the dialogue, or I'd go on to the plot. And I would average about 4 books a week.
Note, when I'm looking at my memoir again, I must remove all the lines that say leaves falling from the tree. Okay.
No, but you do. And I would approach authors. I have this story about James Patterson, and
who I have met.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but I'll tell you my
I've
story.
more than met him a couple of times. But what
Whoa,
happened
it
is
sounds pretty good.
No,
I more than met him.
I wanted to run some of his books. We needed to get somebody really. We already had David and Lee and those people on, but I wanted him to do a promo, and he wanted somebody else to do the promo. And I said, we're not going to put somebody else on the promo. You do promos for TV. I can strip them off of that, but I would really prefer you to do them specifically for our channel. And finally he relented and he started doing them. But I went down to the Miami Book Fair and he had asked to do an interview with me, and I was thrilled. But he made it at the end of the day, and when I walked through the door, he came around the side of the table. He says, do I have to do a promo in order to get this interview done? And I said, no. And we've been, it's like I absolutely loved him because I realized his sense of humor was there, even though he doesn't smile and do whatever a lot.
He's not just a Stephen King, not that just a Stephen King, please.
Yeah.
But he was in advertising, which is what I was in.
Exactly.
And my boss, I was at Interep, Ralph Guild, nicest guy in the world. And he had this beautiful mansion in Palm Beach. Mm-hmm. And Ron and I would go down there for the last weekend in Palm Beach. They had a big fireworks celebration and they pretended like it was their celebration.
Yeah.
And come to find out, James Patterson's wife worked for Ralph Guild because she was in advertising and he was in advertising, which is why he's probably one of the biggest sellers of books.
He knows how to promote.
He knows how to promote.
Yeah.
And then he has Bill Clinton. He has all these different people.
Mm-hmm.
He is the smartest guy in the room when it comes to marketing. He owned his own advertising company, and then he's now an author.
Well, and he also started Jimmy Books. I don't know about for little kids, for younger adults and for kids.
Just he needed that extra million.
Well, I know, but it's like one of the things that my parents told me right from the very beginning was the 3 most important things you should learn how to do, and it's really come into being: reading, driving, and typing. Think about it. Reading, gotta learn how to read. I've been reading since I was about 3 years old. Yep. Typing, because even with computers or years ago when we were doing the IBM Selectrics and whatever, and the original
you are dating
ones.
Yourself,
yes,
darling.
Honey, I am very dated. But, when we used to have to do those, typing was so important. And then where so many of us live nowadays, you have to have a car.
Yes.
Nothing against public transportation. I love it in certain areas, but not everybody lives in an area. Not everybody lives in an area where there is public transportation. And you've got to learn how to drive. And so those 3 things were always the most important.
Your parents sounded so special.
Oh, they were.
See, I had as I write in my memoir, and you probably, I don't know if you know that or not, but and all the audience probably does. I talk about it all the time, but I'm adopted. Mm-hmm. So I was very blessed to get a wonderful family that loved me, but all pretty dysfunctional in their own way. So I navigated that, and that probably made me a better person. I'm flipping my hair when I say that. Probably made me a better person. But my mom was just a special, special person. but dealt with a lot of things. She was in World War II.
My dad fought in World War II and the
my
Korean
mom was
War.
a nurse and went to Japan.
Yeah.
And none of her brothers went into the war.
There
and
you
yet
go.
they all inherited the business. And she didn't. She married a refrigeration repair guy. Not that Mickey McGuire wasn't special, but still. So it was different. But when you speak of your parents, it's so reverent. It's so special. And
Well, my
I love
dad's
that.
actually mentioned in Colin Powell's first book, My
Really?
Country. Yes, because he was Colin Powell's barber the 2 times he went through
Stop it.
Fort Leavenworth.
I
Exactly.
love that.
And then he's listed as Old Sarge Gillester Linton. And he and my mom was they called him back then governess for a couple of different colonels. She was
Wow.
originally from Mississippi, my dad from Georgia. They both did not want to be in the Deep South at any time.
Yes.
And so she got to Fort Leavenworth because of that. And that's where my mom and dad met. My dad was in the service for 30 years.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
not know that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And
You
then
know, I
became
got
a barber.
I got a chance to meet Colin Powell once
Yes.
at a cocktail party with the Bushes, which is another story. You have to come back. But anyway,
Oh,
and you
yes,
have to
I
read my
will.
memoir. And we have to get it published first.
Yes.
But, that's one thing I wanted to say is with the climate of everything nowadays, everything is so litigious. So I'm telling a story about a former president and first lady, which is the name of my podcast, Shaking the Bushes, because I'm shaking the bushes on my spending 2.5 weeks with them
Exactly.
on a yacht, and then that they're home. Some of the things that happened, the roller coaster ride, and that devastated me. And then I had to go back in my life to figure out why I was so affected by that. Do I have you on the edge of your seat? But anyway,
Read the book.
That said, exactly. But that said, Colin Powell was at a cocktail party, and I found out. So Ron and I got invited on this 440-foot private yacht in Greece with George Herbert Walker Bush, and Barbara Bush is a host. And we entertained, we had fun. They asked us back. It's all in the book. But I had found out that Colin and Alma, I believe,
Alma.
were on the yacht with their friends the week before. No, the week before that was Prince Charles and Camilla.
Oh.
And then it was before that was Colin Powell. So this yacht and this guy who owned this whole fleet of yachts seemed to take care of
You
people.
got good friends.
I had interesting friends. And now I'm sitting at my kitchen table in my childhood home in Rhode Island. and here we are.
Having
But
the best time.
do you feel, and Ron's giving me the signal that we have to wrap it up because
Yeah.
I could go on and on, or we
We
could go
could.
on and on.
We'll have to do part 2.
We'll have to do part 2.
Yeah.
But do you feel that at our age, and I'm not going to mention age, but do you feel that we've had 10 lives? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about you as an acting coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about me as, in sports, you in sports. It just,
Well, okay, let me
Okay.
tell you one more story.
yeah.
I had the immense opportunity to work as an associate producer when President Obama was elected the first time to work on his Lincoln Memorial concert.
Nice.
Okay, a friend of mine, Lauren Klaas Schneider, out of New York, I have to give her props because she's done so many
Yay.
beautiful, unbelievable productions. In fact, I was an associate producer on the World War II memorial dedication because of her. So, but anyway, the Bruce Springsteen movie is out right now, and he
Yes.
was at the concert.
Oh, wow.
But he came in, that was one of the most uplifting and beautiful times of my life and experiences of my life. Every star that came in, if they had egos, they left them at the front door. And the day of the concert, Bruce comes in. There's a choir from Memphis that he's working with, all
Right.
Black young kids. And he comes in the morning. The tent is still everybody's we still got a lot to do. And he goes, "Where's my choir?" And he comes in and he wakes up that whole tent. And I'm talking about huge tents, military guys, other acts and things were there. And from that, even the first time I met him, but from that moment on, he's been very, very special. And I hope I haven't seen the movie yet, but I hope there's part of that in there because those are the kind of lives
Yes.
that I've had the opportunity to meet over and over and over again. And, Garth Brooks and Stevie Wonder and
Well,
There's so many
I have
others.
A story. I see this will happen. Ron
Yeah.
will be like, but I have. So
How many more minutes?
Yeah, we were just in New York City going to the Peter Yarrow Memorial Service.
Yes.
He was a good friend of ours. He lived in our building, and he became so good friends. I can't, like one of those deep friends.
Yeah.
And we'd go out to dinner, and I could bring up Joan Baez, and he'd tell a story.
Exactly.
Or John Denver, how they started him out. Or Bob Dylan lived at his house for 6 months, and he said he was kind of a strange guy, but oh, what a surprise, right?
Yeah,
But do you know that Peter Yarrow, same almost story as you, had a chance to work for the I Have a Dream with Martin Luther King. What was that, 60, what year, 60, 64?
64, 65, something
But then he said, but I want
64.
Peter and Mary to be part of this too. So they did We Shall Overcome.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting at a dinner table talking to a man who can tell me all about Martin Luther King, and we've got to do, and he was there. So it's kind of like what you're saying. And these are the moments that I think we just hold on to.
Exactly.
And that make your life.
Exactly.
You know? And so that's the one thing I'll leave with, isn't this funny? With the phones being such an important part of our lives now. If there were phones and we were always on them.
We have pictures.
But yeah, we have pictures. But if we have phones and we aren't talking to people, you never would have connected. You never would be at the memorial. You would never be having that experience.
Very true.
And so I think that's just that's one of my episodes in season 2, folks, of my written. I want to be David Sedaris someday, you know?
Ooh.
So I have written my stories, and it's all about how I live in New York City and I live in my childhood home in Rhode Island, the biggest city and the smallest state, and how different it is. But you know what, Maggie? How very much the same it is too.
Exactly.
So I just have so much fun, but I try to do that. So having you here telling me that story I've been smiling this whole podcast. That is the thing I think about our friendship that is just really endeared me to you, is you are just always full of sunshine. And I feel that I'm the same way. So
Yes, you are.
I think we could light up New York City if they could plug
us in.
Well, Maggie Linton, what a pleasure. And I know Bob's going to cringe when he hears this, and he's been so patient, but I think you need to make this trip. Or maybe, so you're going to officiate at a wedding. You're going to be the minister at a wedding.
In Massachusetts, yeah.
Oh my God.
Dear friends.
On the Cape?
No, Waltham. Yeah.
And then maybe when you're coming back through, Bob, you could stop by and do part 2. And I think the boys are all shaking. But anyway, I have had so much fun. And
Same here.
I have been just looking forward to this. And I hope the people listening and the people watching are having as much fun listening to the stories. And may I just say,
we've got more.
We could go on and on. Thank you, Maggie Lynn.
Truly my pleasure. I love you too, Ellie, forever and ever.
Psst. Hey, thanks for watching the Shaking the Bushes podcast. And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and see that little bell there? You could click on that, and that will notify you for the next episode of Shaking the Bushes. Okay, I gotta go. And we never had this conversation.